I moved into my first real apartment when I got my job in the city. It was an old building, brick walls, narrow staircases, and a creaky elevator that smelled faintly of mildew. Nothing about it screamed haunted, at least not at first glance. But the first night I slept there, I started noticing things that didn't make sense. The apartment was small, just a bedroom, a tiny living area, and a bathroom, perfectly normal, or so I thought. The first weird thing happened around midnight. I woke up to the sound of scratching, not on the walls, not on the ceiling. It was coming from under my bed, slow, deliberate, like someone, or something, was moving around, testing its limbs, listening. I told myself it was the building settling, old floors, old pipes, nothing more. But then I heard it whisper, soft, almost a sigh. Go away. I froze. My heart pounded. I didn't dare look. I pulled the covers over my head and tried to convince myself it was just the wind. The next morning, nothing was out of place. No marks, no objects moved, nothing. I shrugged it off, told myself I was tired. Night after night, it got worse. The scratches became tapping, sometimes a dragging sound, like claws scraping across the floorboards, and the whispers. Sometimes words, sometimes just a sigh, sometimes laughter. Soft, cruel, as if it knew I could hear, but I couldn't see. I started noticing small things during the day. Shadows that lingered too long in corners, objects slightly moved from where I left them, cold spots that appeared out of nowhere. Once, I was brushing my teeth in the bathroom and caught a glimpse of a dark shape slipping under the bed faster than I could follow with my eyes. My hair stood on end, and I felt the first real fear I'd ever felt. My stomach churned. The apartment suddenly felt alive, watching me, breathing with me, waiting. One night, I stayed awake, determined to see it. I sat on the edge of the bed, flashlight trembling in my hands. Scrape, tap, shuffle. Then it stopped. Silence. My breath caught in my throat. And then, from under the bed, came the sound of something breathing. Heavy, wet, deliberate. I leaned over the edge, shining the light into the darkness beneath. Nothing, just the empty space, the shadowed gap between the floor and the bed frame. I exhaled shakily, leaned back, and that's when I saw it, or felt it. A hand, pale, long fingers, curling around the edge of the bed frame, slowly, watching, waiting. I screamed, throwing the flashlight. The shadow didn't move, it didn't flinch, it just waited. I ran out of the apartment, down the narrow staircase, into the cold night. Barefoot and shaking, my neighbor yelled something about me, but I didn't care. I didn't stop until I was in my car, engine running, lights off, trying to convince myself I was safe. I never went back for my things. Some friends tried to help me, even peeked inside the apartment, but they never found anything. No handprints, no scratches, nothing under the bed. Just the faint smell of dust and old wood, like nothing had happened at all. Months later, I moved into a different city, different apartment, same layout, small bedroom, bed pressed against the wall. And at first, nothing happened. I began to relax, to forget that terrifying night. Until one evening, as I was drifting off, I felt it. That same weight, that same presence. Scrape, tap, tap. I froze, heart hammering. The whisper came next, soft and low. I'm still here. I didn't move, I didn't breathe, I couldn't. And then, from under the bed, came the sound of dragging, something moving closer, just out of sight, waiting for the right moment to reveal itself. The air grew thick, heavy, and cold, like the apartment itself had been replaced by a void. My chest ached from the fear and the sudden lack of oxygen. I felt my hair rise, goosebumps crawling up my arms. I'll never forget that night. Even now, in a well-lit room, miles away from that first apartment, I sometimes feel it, that waiting, patient shadow lurking under the bed, not gone, not forgotten. And the worst part? I know it's still hungry. So, if you ever hear scratches or whispers under your bed, don't look, don't reach, and whatever you do, don't move your feet, because it's always waiting, always patient, always hungry, and maybe, just maybe, it's already under your bed, watching. I never believed in ghosts. Not really. Not until that night. It all started when I moved into my first apartment. It was small, kind of run down, but cheap. And that's all I could afford at the time. The walls were thin, the floorboards creaked, and the place had that old, musty smell that made you wonder what had happened there before. The first few nights were fine. Just the usual city noises, the occasional siren, the hum of my neighbors arguing through the thin walls. But then, things started to get weird. I'd be lying in bed, reading, and I'd hear it. Soft, almost imperceptible at first. A scratching sound coming from beneath the bed. I chalked it up to the old floorboards, maybe the apartment settling. But the noise kept coming. Every night, same time, just as I was drifting off to sleep. Scrape, scrape, scrape. I told myself it was nothing. You're tired. Stress, I said. But then the whispers started. Faint, almost like someone breathing under the bed, murmuring words I couldn't quite make out. At first, I froze. I didn't want to believe what my gut was screaming. But the more I ignored it, the louder it became. One night, curiosity, or stupidity, got the better of me. I leaned over the side of the bed, flashlight in hand, and peered underneath. Nothing, just the dust, some old shoes left by the previous tenant, nothing alive. I exhaled, laughed nervously, and got back into bed, telling myself I'd imagined it. But then, the whispering came again, louder this time, clearer. You shouldn't be here. I froze, my heart pounding so loud I thought the neighbors must hear it. My rational mind screamed that it was impossible, but my body refused to move. I stayed frozen for what felt like an eternity before finally flipping the flashlight under the bed again. And that's when I saw it. A pair of eyes. Not human eyes. Big, black, reflecting the light like wet stones. They were staring at me, unblinking from the shadows beneath my bed. I screamed, threw the covers over my head, and stayed like that for hours until the morning light finally seeped through the blinds. I didn't sleep much that day, or the next. Every night after, the whispers came back, always the same, always worse. Sometimes, when I dared to peek, I'd catch glimpses of it. Slender, shadowy, impossibly fast, always retreating under the bed before I could see it properly. I tried everything, sprinkled salt, burned candles, even set up a camera one night. The footage, it didn't make sense. The room was empty, but when I played it back frame by frame, sometimes a black blur would dart under the bed in a way no human could move. Sometimes, if the camera angle caught it just right, two black eyes would appear, looking directly at the lens before vanishing. Things escalated after that. One night, I woke to the feeling of something sitting on the edge of the bed, heavy, breathing down my neck. I might dared a glance. Nothing was there. But when I looked under the bed, it was gone. It followed me everywhere in my apartment. My shadow would twitch when it shouldn't. My reflection in the mirror would pause a beat after I moved. And always, the whispers, soft and cold, like icy breath on the back of my neck. You can't leave. The final straw came one stormy night. Rain slammed against the windows, thunder shaking the walls, and I was trying to sleep, desperate for anything resembling normalcy. That night, the whispers weren't whispers. They were screams. Screams echoing from under the bed, guttural, angry, horrifying. I couldn't take it anymore. I grabbed a flashlight and leaned over once again, shaking so badly I could barely hold it. And I saw it, its full form. A thin, grotesque figure, too long-limbed, face twisted and featureless except for those deep black eyes, staring right at me. Its fingers stretched out toward me, clawing at the air like it could reach me through the very floor. I screamed, threw the flashlight, and ran. Never looked back. I moved out the next day, left everything behind. Furniture, clothes, my apartment, everything. And yet, even now, months later, when I lie in a new bed, in a new place, sometimes I hear it. Not every night, but enough. The soft scrape of claws, a faint whisper from somewhere I can't see. I see you, and I know it's still there, waiting, patient, just under the bed. I always thought my little brother was exaggerating when he said there was something under his bed. Kids, right? Full of imagination, nightmares, the works. I didn't pay much attention until the night I stayed over at his apartment. It was a small, cluttered studio, walls the color of cheap beige, barely enough room for his bed and a desk. He insisted the place was cozy, but as soon as I stepped inside, something about it felt off. The air was heavy, like the room was holding its breath. He showed me around, laughed nervously, trying to make me feel at ease. "Don't worry, nothing weird ever happens here," he said. I smiled, humoring him, but I noticed his bed was pushed flush against the wall, the space underneath suspiciously dark, almost black. That first night, I didn't hear anything, just the usual city noises outside, the distant sirens, the hum of traffic. But the next night, that's when it started. I was lying there, scrolling through my phone, when I felt it, a vibration, like something moved under the bed. I froze, listening. The apartment was silent except for the faint hum of the heater. And then, a soft tap. Tap, tap, tap. I sat up. "Very funny," I whispered, looking at my brother. He was asleep, sprawled on the other side of the bed, completely unaware. My stomach dropped. I reached toward the floor. Nothing. The tapping got faster, almost like it was testing me, teasing me. Then a low scratching sound, slow, deliberate. My heart was racing, every instinct screaming to run. But I stayed. I had to know what it was. I leaned over the edge, flashlight in hand. And that's when I saw it, or rather, felt it. Something shifted under the bed. Heavy, wet, something moving, its limbs stretched in impossible ways, pressing against the frame. I shined the light under the bed. Nothing. And then it moved. Not like a normal animal, not like a person, just... It slithered, elongated, creeping toward the edge like it was made of shadows. I yelped, jumped back onto the bed, and my brother stirred, mumbling. I didn't care. I had to get out. I told him what I saw. He didn't argue, just shook his head. "It's been here a long time," he said quietly, like it was nothing. My blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" I asked. He didn't answer. That night, I slept with the light on, or at least tried. But every time I closed my eyes, I felt it, moving, watching, breathing under the bed. It didn't make noise like before. Now it just existed. A presence, thick and heavy, pressing down on me. The next night, I couldn't take it anymore. I had to see it. I leaned over the bed again, hands shaking, flashlight pointed under, and I saw them, two glowing yellowish eyes staring back at me, wide, hungry, intelligent, not human. And then the shape moved, fast, too fast. In one blink, It was at the other end of the bed, then gone. I swear, my blood ran cold. My brother just sat up and said, "I told you, it doesn't like visitors." It escalated after that. Scratches on the floor, small, quick movements in the corner of my eye. Sometimes when I was brushing my teeth in the bathroom, I'd see a shadow dart under the bed, as if it were watching me from every angle. One night, I woke to a sound I'll never forget. Breathing, slow, wet, almost like someone had a hand pressed over their mouth trying not to scream. It was coming from under the bed. I froze, my heart pounding so hard it hurt. And then, a voice, soft, hollow. "Stay with me." I bolted out of that apartment, left my stuff, left my phone, left everything. My brother didn't try to stop me, he just watched, as if he'd expected it. I moved into a new place, miles away. And for months, I tried to convince myself it was over, that I'd imagined it, or maybe my brother's weird imagination had gotten under my skin. But every now and then, at night, when the lights are off and the house is quiet, I feel it. That weight under the bed, that waiting, that presence. And I know one thing for certain. Whatever is under the bed doesn't like strangers. It doesn't forget. And it moves faster than you can ever see. Some nights, when the darkness is thick enough, I swear I can hear it whispering through the floorboards. "Come back." And I don't dare look.